From the youngest members of the household to elders, Sony has played a crucial role in homes all over the world for many years. This tech company is the trendsetter for many of the coolest, newest devices we all know and love. Whether you love TV, gaming, music, or just high-quality technology, you'll know that Sony is an important part of this industry. So how did a company that started out small make its way into every house, office, and other places we go? Stay with us to learn about the story of one of the world's major technology manufacturing corporations, its founders, and greatest achievements over the years. In 1946, just after World War II, Sony Group Corporation was founded by Japanese industrialists and entrepreneurs Masaru Ibuka and Akio Morita. Born in separate cities and years, the life story and background of both founders is equally important, interesting, and crucial to the establishment of Sony. How these men eventually become partners is a story of its own. Let's learn about these brilliant men before the brand they co-owned. Born on April 11, 1908 in Nikko, Japan, Masaru was the son of Tasaku Ibuka, a tech architect. However, he lost his father when he was only 2 years old, and his custody was given to his grandfather. Masaru moved out of his mother's house, and when she married, he applied and got accepted to a high school in Kobe, where he went to live on his own. In 1933, after graduating from Waseda University, he briefly worked in a photochemical lab, working on improving image quality. Not long after that, he joined the Japanese Navy during World War II. After finishing his duties, Ibuka was sure he wanted to have a shop of his own, so he set up a radio repair shop in Tokyo in 1945. In a short amount of time, he was able to achieve notable success, making it in the newspaper just a year after starting his venture. This is where Akio Morita comes into the story. Akio Morita was born in Nagoya, and his family were in the soy and miso sauce producing business. Of his 3 siblings, he was the oldest, and therefore expected by his father to take over the family's business. However, Morita found greater pleasure in the world of mathematics and physics. He enjoyed learning about them so much that he majored in physics, graduating from Osaka Imperial University in 1944. After reading the news and learning about the activities of Ibuka, whom he had met previously in his short time serving the Navy, he chose to join him in Tokyo. In 1946, Morita's father generously funded their new co-owned firm, Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering Corporation, which would later be known as Sony. With only around 20 employees, the company started working. After 3 years, the business developed and sold the first magnetic recording tape in Japan. Having great success, Sony was also the first company to use advanced technology out of military purposes. In 1958, 2 key events happened in the company. The first was the changing of its name from Tokyo Telecommunications to Sony, which came from sonus or sound in Latin and Sony, a common American word. The brand name represents the young people who have come together to create innovative sound systems. The same year, Sony produced what they called the first pocket-sized radio. However, the radio wasn't exactly small enough to fit a standard pocket, so in order to give off the right idea, Sony made shirts with slightly bigger pockets for its own employees and had them use the radio around the city to advertise the product. Since then, Sony has gained a purpose. The company became focused on making new, useful, high-quality products for people. In 1959, after the fairly small radio was produced, Ibuka spoke in an interview about making the first transistor TV. In his conversation with the magazine, Ibuka, who was Sony's president at the time, spoke of this TV as if it were a dream or something that was almost impossible to achieve. However, little did the citizens of Japan and the world know that the TV was already in the works and had already come very far in the production process. In fact, the presets for the TV had already been developed a year before. On December 25th, Sony exploded in global news as it announced the world's first direct-view TV, and the product was officially put on the market in May of 1960. TV-8 301 was a huge hit in the country. When US TV manufacturers visited Japan while Sony's product was under development, they had little faith that it would succeed, not in the technological sense, but more so in marketing. The visitors believed that insufficient market research was done and that there would be no market or audience for the portable TV. Once it was released and had become a great success, Ibuka said that he had come to the conclusion that brand new products must always create new markets. So instead of fitting their products to the market, Sony produced innovative items that created and attracted a new set of audiences each time, something they continue to do today. One of Sony's greatest customers with whom the founders had strong connections from the war was the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications in Japan. The organization ordered Sony's products in bulk and ordered products to be made by the company as well. This doesn't mean that Sony wasn't a huge hit with people and citizens, though. Actually, since a lot of sound sets and gramophones were destroyed in the war, a lot of people had shifted to the use of Sony's radios and TVs. Business was good for Sony almost from the very beginning, which is not so common with startups. But Ibuka and Morita saw needs and spaces in the market and went on to fill them one by one. And this was the major key to the conglomerate's success. Sony started its work while Japan was recovering and reconstructing from the recent war, and it grew as the company's economy did. In 1971, Ibuka handed the president position to his co-founder Morita. Morita started a life insurance company under Sony's name, which did fairly well. However, electronic devices of the firm had cut prices because of the global recession and sales drops, and the revenue fell immensely. So much so that many of their competitors were sure it was over for the corporation. When Norio Oga took over as president, he took two major steps in bringing Sony back up to its feet again. He worked on developing compact discs and the PlayStation while he was running the company. In 1989, he became CEO of Sony. Morita's vision for Sony was even greater than this, though. He wanted to expand the company and work on a new venture. So on the basis of his and other presidents' missions, Sony expanded into many new fields, one of which was media. However, this was not a smart move for them, and the firm's profitability and brand image suffered from it. In 2005, when Howard Stringer, the first foreigner to take over the Japanese corporation, took over, he was set on reviving Sony by bringing the company's focus back to electronics and making budget cuts. Maybe it was the language and cultural barrier, or Stringer's inability to put a finger on what the remedy that Sony needed, but ultimately he wasn't able to save it from going downhill, and Sony's crisis continued well into the late 2000s. It was Kazuo Hirai who was able to eventually make Sony what it was by focusing on technology, gaming, and mobile phones. Can you guess which products were Sony's lifesavers? Like and share the video before finding out. Sony's greatest success came after many years when the Vaio laptops were introduced. For the longest time, these computers were the best in the game. Speaking of games, the next market-breaking invention by Sony was, of course, the PlayStation. What's interesting is that Sony didn't mean to produce a gaming console at first. Before the PlayStation, Sony had partnered with Nintendo to make an add-on for their console. In 1991, Sony introduced the Nintendo add-on, but the companies couldn't agree over licensing matters, so Sony continued the project of its own. Over the years, many features and abilities have been added to PS, and its latest version, PS5, has made a riot. Sony has also entered the world of film productions, producing some of the world's biggest movies like Spider-Man, Skyfall, and Venom. And if all of that is not enough, the corporation also has some of the best interactive video games on its resume, including some of Marvel characters' games. Ibuka and Morita's precision and motivation to build a company fully off of innovations and new products is applaudable. It is difficult enough to build a company this large as it is, but creating a business from products that are new to the world is what sets Sony's story apart from some of its competitors that joined the market later. It's impossible to fit all of this corporation's products and achievements in a single video, but we hope you enjoyed our highlights of its history and major events. If you liked this video, be sure to check out our video playlist for more business stories.